It's John Beaudin from Rock History Book. We're back. She quit the business and gave away all her gold and platinum albums. That's the subject tonight. And this woman, the singer we're talking about, she died September 29th, 2020. She was 78 years old. I remember I did the obituary on her sister channel, Rock History Music. And in the 70s, the singer was everywhere. The hits included, the hit albums rather, I Am Woman, which contained the women's anthem of the same name from 1972, Long Hard Climb the following year in 74, Love Song, in 74 rather, Love Song for Jeffrey, Free and Easy in 74 again, No Way to Treat a Lady, with the hit of the same name in 75, and Music Music, which was, by the way, her last really big album from 1976. Look at that face. She was everywhere. I mean, like, I can't say that enough because everywhere I turned, talk about good branding, because every time I turned around in the early to mid 70s, I saw this lady. And the hits everyone knew. I Don't Know How to Love Him. There was also a version of that, of course, sung by Yvonne Elliman on Jesus Christ Superstar. That was her first big one. And then the number ones. I Am Woman, Delta Dawn, Angie Baby. She had 15 top 40 U.S. hits. Hold on, let me, this happens sometimes when I'm doing these live broadcasts. There you go. We're talking, of course, about Helen Reddy, right? Speaking of turning around and seeing her here, which is really ultimately really good branding. I remember watching Love of the Greek. Remember, it was a TV special, it was an album, and it was a DVD, or back then VHS, for Neil Diamond. And he had a lot of VIPs in the audience, including Olivia Newton-John. I remember she was so cute in there. And he was calling the VIPs to come up and sing a chorus with him. He yells out, "Is Helen Reddy here?" She comes to the front. He says, "I know you're going to kill me for this. I just watched it like 15 minutes ago to refresh my memory," making sure it was her because, you know, the memory can be that way. And she sings Song Sung Blue along with him. And it's just a joyous occasion. But I think that was like 1977. What a time. In 2002, Helen Reddy announced her retirement from performing, and she said she was going to move back to her native Australia from California. She got a degree, believe it or not, in hypnotherapy. And she was practicing. She said, "I don't want to do what I've done before. I want to learn new skills. I want to get out there and maybe be a different person." Can you imagine walking into a hypnotherapy session in the 70s, and there's Helen Reddy ready to work on you? In 2002, 6 years later, we found out that she was living a very simple life. She was actually worried about her finances, renting a 13th floor apartment in Australia. And she had given away, at that point, all her gold and platinum albums, giving many to a super fan who she was in contact with. Man. She came back in 2011 saying that she first heard her voice for the first time, like, again, in 10 years, and she thought, you know what, I could probably do this again. So she did a concert. She decided at that point she didn't want to do a greatest hits concert. She says, I want to do some of the hits that people expect to hear, but I want to play some album cuts, which I really loved, and in some cases I wish they would have been hits as well. Like, she did all the big ones you'd expect, but interestingly, and this is what she looked like back then. Oh, it won't come up. Hold on. There she was. She didn't do Leave Me Alone, Ruby Red Dress. She thought it was monotonous and really never liked the song. 2015, it was announced that she had dementia, and as mentioned before, she died September 29th, 2020. She had moved back to Los Angeles. Oops, there we go. Oh, wrong one. There. I've always been a big Helen Reddy fan. Angie Baby, I thought, was just a trippy song in general. Remember that tune? Oh, let me get rid of some of this stuff I've got up here. It was just a trippy tune, but Helen Reddy, the way no one sounded like Helen Reddy. She had kind of her own lane in that way. Remember? So we tip our hat to Helen Reddy, thinking about her today, a woman who gave us so much. Believe it or not, she had more hits in North America than she did in her native Australia. So a lot of the bigger hits near the end were actually not hits there. And she concentrated on her career mostly because she was living in Los Angeles. And eventually she, I guess appropriate for her, ended up passing away in Los Angeles 2 years ago. Helen Reddy. Look at that face. And it's interesting. everyone ages, so I wanted to make sure I put a picture of her the way she looked like near the end. There was, I think, an Australian 60 Minutes episode that talked about her at the point where she didn't want to do it anymore. And she just said, I've had enough of it. That's behind me now. I don't want to do that anymore. And then I think she went and sang at her sister's wedding or an event at her sister's place. And she thought, I can do this again. Like I said, she said, I hadn't heard my voice in 10 years. So she got out and she kind of went out of it with a bang. And then, of course, dementia set in and it was the end of Helen Reddy. But I was a big fan. Bought a lot of her 45s. But like I said, Angie Baby to me was a real trippy song. If you want to support the channel, there are links at the very top of the description where you can join our Patreon or else give us a donation via PayPal. We appreciate that because we have researchers who work with us, and whenever we get extra money, we have extra researchers to work with us, and also buying new equipment like a laptop. So thank you very much for watching us. And remember, like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and we'll always be here for you looking at big moments in rock and roll. But more than that, interesting moments. There's a lot of big moments. Rock and roll has big moments every single day. But we look for the interesting things of going, why would someone, who, by the way, was worth $3 million when she died, it's disputable, but you'd think a star of that magnitude would have had a lot more, but she still had $3 million. But she was worried about where she was going. Anyway, like our video and share our videos as well. It's John Beaudin. This is Rock History Book. Take care of yourself.